Hello folks and welcome. Debian 13, codename Trixie. Brand new as of this weekend. This is Sunday, August 10th. And I'm going to be talking about maybe some tips and tricks for new users. Linux is for all skill levels. Linux is for all ages. That's been my motto for a long time. I'm filming in 1080 and the subscription logo is in the corner. I have well over 500 videos and all kinds of things, almost approaching 600. In either case, I'm going to talk about the latest. And this is the GNOME desktop. I've got a couple other toys that I've added to it. This goofy looking icon, I back that up on my internal backup drive from my personal files. And that's done with a .desktop file. I'll probably make mention of it toward the end of the video. We're going to start with settings, and then we're going to move on to the file manager, and then, or maybe I should do show apps first. Yeah, let's do that. So I've added Kate the text editor, and I added also VLC. Other than that, everything else got installed normally. And then I also added rsync through terminal because I found out that the Debian 13 does not automatically install rsync, and I'm using rsync with a script file for that backup icon. I also have this done automatically. It's got automatic backup and also manual or on demand. That's not what this video is about. This is about general usage. All right, so you got fairly standard applications that I'm not going to click open. LibreOffice Writer, I will open that if you're curious what version this is. It is 25.2.3.2, so fairly modern. And so I'll go back to this, and we have our standard stuff in here, and we have also the system stuff. Tweaks comes installed, so in case you need your additional buttons, what I mean by that is the Windows buttons. You know, the maximize, minimize, these two guys, you'll need to turn those on. If you need to move those over to the other side, then just click that while you're in here. All right, so I also have a startup application, and again, this is my automatic, quote, backup. They're usually done with .desktop files. But again, I'm not going to discuss that in this video. Well, I may touch on it toward the end. So we have the calendar thing in the center. We have the multifunction icon here. There is a screenshot tool there, and your system settings are here. Wired and Wi-Fi settings, Bluetooth I have turned off, and you can see the rest of the settings. If you right-click on your screen, you can change the background, and this is what you have for default for Debian 13. You got quite a few. You can certainly use your own. Right-click, display settings. Again, I have this in 1080. I could have this in 4K also. As a matter of fact, I have higher settings. Thought I'd just leave it in 1080 and at 100%. You get different scaling factors also with certain things. So while we're in here, since I just right-clicked and do settings, why don't we just cover most of this? I'm not currently using Wi-Fi. I'm using, as you can tell, Ethernet. That's the symbol up there at the top. All right, but I could also use Wi-Fi if I log into one of these. All right, so, and don't forget there's a gear symbol here in case you need to add your manual DNS, and you can turn off automatic. Bluetooth, skipping over that. Displays, I've already talked about that. Sound, and my microphone. Power, multitasking, you got those hot corners, and some other stuff down here. The appearance, again, styles, you like dark or just default, accent colors, and of course background. Not really going to go into this, but that particular thing that I have created also comes up as this. I created this myself with a goofy looking icon, and that's done with a .desktop file. Notifications, search, online accounts, sharing, and well-being, screen time, screen limits, break reminders, There's more stuff, as they say. Mouse and touchpad. This is not how you change the size. It's done in the accessibility options. I'll show you how to change the size of the mouse cursor if you're curious. This has more to do with the pointer speed and if you like your physical buttons left or right. Keyboard, really not going to touch too much about. Color management. The printer I have is a Brother multifunction laser scanner, and it automatically finds that because it's driverless on my network. I didn't have to install anything. The accessibility option, if you are looking for seeing, you can find your large text here. You can also find the mouse cursor or mouse pointer. Here, I'll just make that larger and then smaller. Something middle of the road. Privacy and security. And down here is system. Okay, there's lots of stuff in here. Lots of stuff in the settings menu. All right, so I will move to the next phase, which right click is just, you can get the settings also this way or this way or this way. There's all kinds of ways to get into settings. All right, so I have additional pages over here. So if you see the dots and an arrow, that means you got additional icons. I added VLC, and I also added Kate, and I installed the rsync utility because it wasn't installed through terminal. And I'll touch a little bit about that if you're curious a little bit later. Let's walk through the software store and then we'll jump on over to the file manager. All right, so the software store is fairly intuitive. There's the 48.3. Your update icon is here also. You can just hit the cycle and it'll check, and it'll also say when it was last checked, in my case 5 hours ago. Installed and explore. Fairly standard stuff. You do a search, or you can just go through and click through the categories and then allow the icons to build. Okay, this is the first time I clicked this. But in either case, you can see they're building the icons. And just be patient if you are using a fairly conservative machine. Everything is fairly simple to install. You click and you do the install. If you click the drop down arrow, if it doesn't have any other option, then that's your only option. Some things have screenshots and some things not so much. So if you are doing something like in here, you can also cycle through these. And you can see it's building screenshots. You can either click the arrow here or just click the little guy here, or just generally scroll up and down to see more information. So again, it's a fairly intuitive software store. Where is the software coming from? We call those repositories. If you kept the default for Trixie, this is Debian 13. Okay, this is all standard stuff. All right, moving to the file manager. Some of you folks may probably wonder, where is the file system? It's not here. All right, so I have my backup drive, which is auto-mounted, as you can probably tell by the MNT, but I have the documents, music, pictures, videos, downloads, home, recent, starred, network, and trash. If you're doing network, just allow it to go find your, if you're doing Samba shares, for instance, that's SMB, and it should come up with your share points, and then you log in normally. If you need to know what the name of your user is, since it just says home, use Control L. I'm just going to give you some keyboard shortcuts with this file manager. Remember, I turned on through GNOME tweaks these two buttons. They are not here by default. Your minimize and your maximize buttons, if you need those. You can also double click on these lines if you can get enough space in there. Okay, I can also pull down with my mouse and it'll resize the box and wherever I left it. Holding down your control key, scroll up and down if you have a regular computer mouse. Hold down the control key, scroll up and down until you resize that, until you get it to the icon size you want. Let go of the control key. If you need to show hidden, you can either click for it or use Control H. Icon size can also be adjusted this way. I think it's more cumbersome than my last trick, which is just using the control key on your computer mouse. List view, icon view, search current folder, 3 dots. You can do some additional stuff. Okay. If you are looking at an internal drive and you need to know what kind of drive this is, whether it's auto-mounted or not, this is my backup that was performed from this icon right here. In either case, it's Control L as in Larry. This is an auto-mounted drive. It says MNT. I'll manually mount this one. When I do Control L, you can see it says media on it. That means it's manually mounted, and your USB sticks or USB drives will also be done the same way, if you needed to know how to read that. All right, if you are just clicking around, you'll just see whatever the name of the drive is. I generally, when I do auto-mounted drives, I do not put spaces in the names. I do that for a reason, because of the script files. But if you want to also just look at the location, you can do edit location, which again is Control L as in Larry. You can click for it also. If you need to see your hidden in a hurry, it's Control H. Okay, your hidden files. If you don't know how to look at your born again shell history, the file is located here. It's a hidden one. And these are the commands that I performed in here using the standard text editor. I also have another one that I can open this with. This is the standard text editor for GNOME. All right, so in either case, it's just showing me my hidden files. So this file here that actually presents this is actually located in a subfolder in here. Control H. Right click, create a folder. Simple stuff to do. It's Shift Control N, or you just right click and select. You can also open up terminal here. So to increase your terminal, you can use Control Shift and plus. For some of your terminal fans, if you needed to know what kind of shell this is using, type in echo space $, and 0. It's using born again shell, bash. If you need to know what bash stands for, type in man bash. Okay, born again shell, GNU born again shell. All right, usually it's Q to quit to get out of this mode. You can also scroll with your computer mouse if you need to read more man pages. If something isn't installed, like INXI is not installed, if I do that, for instance, and bash says it's not installed, then you can install it. You can let's go look in your software store. I doubt it if you can install it here, but I'll try it. And you say that's nothing found. How to install something in terminal is not done with Bob. Bob doesn't belong to the sudoers group, normally by default. So if you put in sudo apt install INXI, for instance, it'll allow you to put Bob's password, but it's going to complain that Bob is not in the sudoers file. Now, how would you install INXI? You use SU. You were requested to put a root password when you installed Debian 13. Put that password in there. Then it changes that to root. Now you can do apt install instead of sudo. Not everybody's cup of tea. INXI comes installed on a lot of systems. This is a very typical response. It's telling me that, giving me a summary, and do you want to continue? Yes or no. Y or N. Yes. And you can see it's connecting to that network there from Debian, and it's installing the files. It should be done. And if you type in exit, it'll get you out of root mode right into Bob's mode. I'm going to punch up clear and then type in INXI one more time with my favorite switch of these. There are many, many, many options on INXI. Now I can give you full details on the whole system. So this is Debian 13, codenamed Trixie. The GCC is 14.2 if you care, and the Linux kernel is 6.12-38, etc., etc. All right, my machine is using this motherboard. I can also go find that online if I copy that. I'm using this CPU. My graphics card is not an NVIDIA, but an AMD, and it will tell me what I'm actually in. What things that are loaded. Also the audio, the network, the Bluetooth, the drives. Okay, we can get boring on this kind of stuff. And this one has plenty of horsepower. It's got, at least for RAM, it's 32 gigs of RAM. Even tells me what's in use. And how long the machine has been running, 19 minutes. And it is using systemd if you care. Now I'm going to type in exit. And the reason I got this over here, because I reconfigured my terminal box earlier. So if you want, if you just give me a second, I'll reconfigure it to standard. Right click, preferences, on name profile. I have it set for holding the terminal box open. I want it to exit. So generally when you open up terminal, this is standard behavior. Whatever you're doing in terminal, let's say you've just done an LS. If you type in exit, it will close the terminal box. Standard behavior. Let's go back to the file manager. So if you need to create additional folders, again, it's just that. Okay, and I have some files. I can also show you if you are wanting to do a transfer. If I make this box a little smaller, if you hit Control N as in Nancy, it produces two of these. I'm going to resize the box. And what I'm going to do is drag this puppy over here, and we're going to use this demo drive to populate some folders. So I need some additional files. I'll grab some off of this demo drive. I'm not sure what I'm going to grab, but I'm just showing you drag and drop. And where's my sample files? Here we are. So let's say I wanted this one to be in the documents folder for whatever reason. And I have PDF. Do I have another PDF in here? I'll just drag that. Okay, drag and drop. You're just copying the file. And again, this is from an internal drive to my local drive. If you have this set for, let's say, downloads, you drag this file from your documents to downloads or vice versa, it will literally just transfer it over. It does a cut and paste when you're doing this. That's the difference between a device, which these are considered, from folder to internal folder, because I'm going from downloads to documents. That probably belongs in pictures anyways. And then I'll just drag that over to here. You know, you download something. You can also just right click on it and do cut and paste. It's very simple. Right click, there's your cut, there's your copy, there's your move to, your copy to. Okay, you can even set the background over here. And you can also right click on these things and set it as a background. Now I got goofy guy with the painter hat guy is what I call this guy. Wallpaperswide.com if you're curious. It's actually posted right in the corner. So let's give them their credit. This is actually a legitimate file. 15.jpg.jpg. Believe it or not, it's being displayed. Okay, lots of weird stuff I have when it comes down to file managers. All right, so you can grab the corner. You can hit these buttons if they're available. Again, you can use tweaks to activate these two buttons. You can go this way. You can also double click. You can also click and drag and pull it up and let go of it. Click and drag and pull it down. I'm just showing you different tricks regarding that. All right, hold down your control key. Scroll backwards to make the icons tiny. Let go of the control key when you got them in the right order. And it does resizing of all of them. Now there's, again, this is your grid view, your list view, and show hidden is in here. Your hamburger menu over here also has some preferences, but it also contains the new window, new tab, the Control Z, keyboard shortcuts, 3 pages worth, close, and keyboard shortcuts, I'm sorry, preferences, I apologize. And a lot of these are just sliders. Double click to open is default, that's my preferred. Some people, I think there's only one Linux distro that uses single clicks to open things. I really don't care for those things, to be honest with you. I like to double click on things. Okay, and then you got time and date format, simple or detailed. In either case, if they're too small, hold down your control key, scroll up, let go of the control key, then you can scroll in the new resized thumbnail. Again, your network stuff is here. If you do have some computers on your network, they should be able to find your SMBs rather easily. It did mine. I didn't have to do anything special with Debian 13. It found these automatically. And my SharePoint 1 or 2 are anonymous anyways. These are just sample files. And trash can is here. Empty trash, pretty simple stuff. A lot of people don't go into details with their file managers. I do, for many reasons. I'm just unmounting these. Now, this one would require a password. And why is that? Because that's an auto-mounted drive. And I need to override that if I want that. It's just a standard post-it note. If you need to see your actual file system, it is not here. Click in your address field and put a / and hit enter. There's your file system. Starting with bin. I'll reduce that if you like. Okay, if you need to know what each one of these folders are, you can go onto my YouTube site. Hopefully you are a subscriber. Look in my About section and look for the Linux file system. It actually goes to a university. And in that, there's about a 16-page article on every one of these folders, if you need to know what they do. This is your master home folder, not to be confused with the current logged in user. Your users on your system will appear here. So I could have Mary, Bob, Sam, and Harry in here or whatever. I only have the one user. So that's the master home folder called /home. Control L. Now you can see it. When I open this though, this will be /home Bob. That's why that's like that. Okay, just a couple of tips. Now, if you need to resize stuff, a lot of times it's probably a good idea to check your display settings. If your monitor supports it and your graphics card, you may have lots of different selections. The higher you go, the higher the resolution, but a lot of times you also want to look at the scaling if it supports that. And the refresh rate may change on you also. I can crank mine to 120 Hertz. I'm sitting at 60. Okay. When I get into 4K though, I'm not allowed to be in 120 Hertz because it doesn't support that monitor wise. So that has a large bearing on how things look to you. All right, simple icon over here does that. or if you have a start key on your keyboard, you can press it. I'll return the background to probably one of the basic images. There's quite a few that are not too bad looking, that give you different appearances. This was one of the older ones, I believe. But again, there's quite a few backgrounds that you can change that to. I'll just change that one to that for right now. Your calendar, you can add your weather location and world clocks. Basic function keys. Your screenshot tool is here. Screenshot or recording. It does record the screen, but I believe the last time I checked, it doesn't do sound, even if you got a microphone. That's why I'm using OBS. There's lots of things we can also deactivate immediately. Now my wired is off. My wireless I haven't signed into, but I'll reactivate it. And you can see the icon up there. Same thing with Bluetooth, night light, dark style, and the power mode. If you need to see details, you click the arrows. Standard volume, this is microphone. Here's your settings. Power off, log out, restart. All right, if you want to hang on, I'll show you this little trick. I'm going to make a backup of the folder for the home user by clicking this icon. And I think, is this, yeah, I have also hidden files included on that. I can also change that so it doesn't have hidden files. To create simple icons like this, this icon is actually also in GNOME Tweaks. And, sorry, TW. This is also done on startup because this is a .desktop file. I found it by hitting plus. If you're curious, the file is actually located in a hidden folder in here. Control H. I'll make the icons tiny. It's in .local. Share, applications, and it is a .desktop file. That's what creates that icon. Feel free to make a screenshot. Just make sure that your path to your script file is absolutely accurate, and also it is very important that your icon file also be found every time you reboot. So mine is in my icons folder, and usually when I use an icon from here, I don't rename the folder or move it or the icon if I want it to be consistent when I reboot the machine. Just a little bit about your file manager. There are plenty of things you can install from the software store, but there's also plenty of things that are also already installed. Keep in mind, there's a lot of people that like Terminal and some people do not. Maybe they're new, but there's plenty of things you can do with point and click, as long as you know how to install Debian 13. I use the net installer, and it comes with several different desktops to choose from. I chose GNOME this time. I could have chosen other desktops, and I chose the very basic installation and with the utilities, but generally I did not select the last selection, which is a little bit more stuff, as they say. Again, these icons here are not here. Just remind you that this is my icon. All right, but you can place these on the dock at any time, and you can just move them back and forth if you like. They're really simple to do. So just remember that if you are looking for these two buttons, you need to turn them on in GNOME Tweaks. Your tweak tool is installed. You just have to activate the buttons, otherwise they will not be here. Your close button will be there, but not these two. Thank you for watching.